everybody, welcome back to my channel. I sound like an official YouTuber kind of saying that. That's weird. I am so excited to film this video today. In my previous video, when I was talking about my husbandos, waifus, and cinnamon buns, I mentioned a game called Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3. And this game, as I mentioned before, is one of my top tier, like top 5, probably my all-time favorite game, just ever. And I wanted to take the time to record a video about it today. And I have been mulling over ideas in my head literally all week. I have pages of notes. I have recorded 2 test videos to kind of see what would be good and what wouldn't be good. I'm just so excited to film this. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be briefly touching on the story a little bit, just like the main story arc, without giving away too much. And I am mostly going to be touching on the social links, the battle system, and the fusion aspect of it, because those are the 3 things that are the most important to me as a player and what got me into it initially. I discovered this game back in 2009. It was the summer before I left home to come up to Boston for college. Basically, I spent it in my boyfriend at the time's room, smoking a lot of weed and playing a lot of different video games. But then I had a friend show me Persona 3, and it just kind of went from there. I played a lot of Persona 3, and by a lot, on the PS2 version alone, because there are 2 different versions. There's a PS2 version and a PSP version. The PSP version came out later. But on the PS2 version alone, I clocked in at least 200 plus hours. 200 plus hours, for those of you who are following along at home, is like 8 days. I don't like things. I obsess over things. But yes, I am gonna try and keep this video short, but knowing me, that's... Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3 is developed by a company called Atlus. Atlus is responsible for games like Odin Sphere, like Catherine, like Demon's Souls, like Trauma Center, Under the Knife on the DS. They are kind of more JRPG centric, I feel. And the Shin Megami Tensei series and the Persona series, it's not like a linear story. Like, there are similar elements to it, but it's sort of more like a franchise, I think. So in the PS2 version, you start out as like a nameless male protagonist, and you are going to this dorm in the middle of the night because, of course, that makes total sense, going to a dorm in the middle of the night. Just, yeah. So you're like one of those like anime, like transfer students, like, oh my god, the weird transfer student, yay! You're walking from the train station to this dorm in the middle of the night, and you notice, oh, the moon is not only humongous and full and just casting a very eerie glow over everything, but what is this in the middle of the street? They aren't people, they're coffins, just standing upright and just, you know, just hanging out. And you're just kind of like that kind of person who's just like, oh, coffins in the middle of the street. Great, I'm very nonchalant about this. I'm gonna keep listening to my headphones and walk to my dorm. So when you get to your dorm, there are shenanigans happening, and throughout these shenanigans, you discover that you have the ability to summon a persona. And a persona is the physical manifestation of your psyche. Why are these people in coffins, you asked? Really glad you asked that. This is a result of something called the Dark Hour. The Dark Hour is a period of time which exists in between one day and the next. This is a result of a company experimenting on these creatures called shadows. Shadows are these beings that can cause sadness and malaise and depression in people, and a lot of people in this city have been suffering from, like, they call it like a sadness sickness or something like that. But a lot of people are noticing that people are becoming more depressed or a lot more lethargic and sad and everything like that. And some people can't even get out of bed. So this company is experimenting to figure out like what the hell these shadows are. And as a result of their experiments going awry, not only is the Dark Hour created, but the shadows multiply and splinter and go off into all these different places, and also 12 mega shadows are created, and they are sort of like the boss fights. And everything in Persona is linked to like the lunar cycle. So the fuller the moon gets, the stronger the shadows are until you get to the full moon, and the full moon is when these big boss shadows come out. That is kind of the backstory. And you figure out that you can summon this persona, and you and your dorm mates, like the first dorm mates that you meet their names are Yukari, Junpei, and Mitsuru. And you are informed that they can also summon personas, and your job is to eradicate all of these shadows in order to abolish the Dark Hour. Spoilers! That doesn't actually happen, and you end up, you know, defeating some of the shadow bosses, and then you realize, oh, we've been lied to, like, this whole time, and now there is, like, this mega shadow, like, way bigger shadow that is going to be bringing about the end of the world, and we have to stop it. Video games. During the Dark Hour, there is a structure called Tartarus that appears in the location, like, where your high school is. And Junpei, being the lovely, charming human that he is, he goes, "Tartarus? That sounds like a toothpaste." And I giggle every time I see that. I can't help myself. Yeah, so you're basically told all of this, and then on top of all of that, you find out that your character is the only character that can summon multiple personas, so like multiple parts of your psyche. Everybody else can only summon one. And the way that personas are summoned is by this object called an evoker, which is shaped like a gun, and it's never explained why it's shaped like a gun. It's just shaped like a gun. And you summon your persona by pointing this thing to your head and pulling the trigger. And for somebody who had never played this game before and didn't know what it was, just going in blind, like, within the first few minutes, you see Yukari, it's like a cutscene, you see her just sitting on this floor, like, holding this gun to her forehead, going like, "It's okay, I can do this, I'm strong enough, I can do this," and I'm like, "Bitch, no, don't do it, you have so much to live for!" And then you're like, oh, she's not, like, going to shoot herself in the head, she's trying to summon the strength to summon her persona, but it's very jarring, like, it's very, like, what kind of game am I playing right now? And it did spark, like, a fair bit of controversy because, like, obviously, I mean, you kind of get used to it after a while, but it's still kind of weird. Like, if somebody, like, walks in and sees you playing this game and you're like, oh, they're just shooting themselves in the head to, like, summon monsters to defeat other monsters and yada yada, and it's just like, oh, I'm gonna leave now. I am gonna start touching on the social links right now, and when you first get to Tartarus, there is this place called the Velvet Room, which only the protagonist can go into because they're the only person that can summon multiple personas. You meet these two characters named Igor, and he has an assistant named Elizabeth, but if it's like the PSP version and you're playing as a female, the assistant's name is Theodore. Igor's job is to assist you in fusing your personas, and he kind of explains a little bit about, like, what the persona actually is and why you were chosen to be this person who can wield multiple ones. But yeah, Igor's job is to, like, assist you in fusing your personas. The assistant's job, be it Elizabeth or Theodore, they are in control of something called a compendium, and the compendium is where you can store, like, multiple personas, but I'm gonna get into that in a bit. They also are responsible for divvying up quests. And quests can be anything from, like, going and getting, like, a toy from a claw machine and bringing it back to the assistant because they're like, I don't know anything about the outside world. I'm just here in the Velvet Room with my master, and I don't know anything about anything. But if you bring me these things from the outside world, I will give you items. My ring light just died. Shit. Bring me items from the outside world and I'll give you objects that will help you on your quest to figure out who you are and battling these shadows, etc., etc. I think my ring light just started working again. Are you gonna behave yourself? Yeah, you can get things like key items that can fuse stronger personas, you can get weapons, you can get money. But yeah, the quests are just sort of like optional little things. Like, I like to do them because that's just how I do. Long story going into that. What is a social link? What is a social link? Why is it important? Why should I care about a social link? Why? All of these things? Why? All personas and social links are affiliated with the major arcana of the tarot. Every single arcana from the Fool to the World, like that and everything in between. There are social links that are affiliated with each of them, and subsequently personas associated with them as well. And each time you meet like a key character, like out in the world or at school or in a club, a new social link is established. So on top of like fighting monsters and, you know, preventing the end of the world and everything like that, you also need to go to school and study and go to clubs and go on dates, as there are 3 stats that you have. It's charm, intelligence, and courage. Sometimes you need to max out these stats before you can even establish a social link, and it takes a lot of work. Like, you need to do like a lot of like random things, and it takes a lot to level all of that up. And sometimes you can't even establish a social link until like halfway through the game, because some people require you to be like of a certain level of intelligence or a certain level of charm or a certain level of courage. It's bonkers. Like, I poured so much time into doing this, and I haven't maxed out all of the social links. Like, that's just, I don't have time for that, regrettably. Social links are upgraded and, you know, made stronger. People can like come up to you like at lunch and be like, hey, are you like coming to this club after school? Or hey, do you want to hang out later? And you can say yes and go and talk to them. And basically it gets into like a visual novel kind of thing where they ask you questions, and then there's like a bunch of, you know, potential answers that you can pick. And the more helpful you are to them, like the stronger your social link can get. And this is really beneficial for me because I don't like picking mean answers, and I just want to help everybody that I am affiliated with. And yeah, so I managed to level up a few social links very quickly, and some social links you only have like a limited time to do it. Like, yeah, you have a very limited time to like max it out. You might be asking yourself, oh, why am I worrying so much about, you know, talking to these people and being friends with them when I could be fighting? And the purpose of leveling up your social link is because when you become closer to people, the subsequent persona of that arcana, so say for example, you're trying to level up the lover's social link out of, you know, random things. If you get that social link stronger, or if that social link progresses in a positive direction, the subsequent personas you fuse that are related to that arcana get stronger as well, if that makes sense. Social links can also be reversed, which is not fun, if somebody feels like you're not spending enough time with them, or if you're like dating multiple people, or if you're just being mean to them. The social link can reverse, and this basically means you cannot summon a persona of that arcana until you fix it. This has happened to me once. It was tragic. I cried a lot. I had to actually like reload my old save file and go back and fix it because I felt so bad. I'm like, oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to think that you weren't special, oh my god. Ah! Worst case scenario, a reverse social link can break, which means you can't summon personas from that arcana at all. Like, you are just fucked because you were being a jerk, and that's what you get for being a jerk. When you max out a social link, there are 10 levels in the social link, and if you max it out, you basically have like fixed this person's problem, or you have helped them on their quest to like self-discovery or what have you. There's like a whole bunch of stories. If like once you've like helped them and you have gotten to them to the point where they can do whatever they have to do, the social link is maxed out and you receive a key item. The key item is needed to form the most powerful persona of that arcana. And they're pretty helpful. That is why you go out of your way to do your social links. Social links are very important. Also, you can be romantically involved with characters. You can't date more than one person at the same time, but if you date somebody and then that social link is maxed out, then you can go and do whatever you want with somebody else, because if you max out a social link and then you go and try and talk to that person, they say, oh, main character, thank you so much for changing my life. I love you so much. And then there's a little bar down at the bottom that says like, you have maxed out this social link. Your friendship cannot get any stronger. And it's just like, All right, next. It's a whole bunch of planning. I think that's one of the things I like about this, is that there's a ton of planning involved in it, and it's very structured, because I kind of need structure in my games. Otherwise, I'm just sort of like, it's why I can't play games like Fallout, because I get too distracted with all these fucking side quests, and I can't focus, and I'm like, oh wait, there's a story? Oh, okay, fine. There are also times when at lunchtime, like, people can come up to you and like ask if you want to go hang out, and you don't have to say yes, like, right then at the time. You can go like, oh, maybe, or oh, maybe, but I always felt like bad, like, kind of like picking one person over the other, but at the end of the day, I gotta level up my shit, so yeah. And you can fuse personas even if you don't have the social link established. They're just not gonna be as strong. Like, you don't have to have the devil social link established in order to fuse personas of the Devil Arcana, if that makes sense. I'm really bad at explaining things. I'm so sorry. I'm just really excited. Regrettably, you cannot date, or you cannot be romantically involved with people of the same sex. Bummer, but that's what fan fiction is for, am I right? Also, really quick, before I get into like the battle system and everything like that, the music in this game, oh my god, Shoji Meguro, so fucking good. I love the music in this game. It is so iconic. I'm obsessed. Alright, so my ring light is just not cooperating with me. Whatever, didn't want you anyway, you punk bitch. Before I mention the fusion system of this game, I'm gonna briefly talk about the battle aspect of it, because it ties in, everything ties into everything. You and your base teammates, Yukari, Jinpei, and Mitsuru, when you first go into Tartarus, you go through like the tutorials and everything, and Tartarus is like this huge tower, and it doesn't have any like discernible top. Like no one has been able to find the top of it. And this is where all like the mini shadows live. Like, they're not like the big bosses. These are just like the little like splinters, and like the, you know, they can sometimes like sneak out and like do shit, but a majority of the shadows are confined to Tartarus, and that is what you have to fight in order to level up you and your team. And when you go in, for the first time, you have only your one persona, which is Orpheus, and you have a weapon, and so do like your other team members. All of your team members will always have their persona and a weapon that corresponds to like their fighting style. All of the floors in Tartarus are randomly generated, so none of them are the same. They all just change. So you could be like running around for like at least like 10 minutes trying to find the stairs to like the next level, or it could be, the stairs could be like literally like right in front of you when you first get to the floor. The combat style in this game is like turn-based combat, so you can sneak up behind these shadows and attack them and get your preemptive strike, or sometimes the shadows will see you and they'll kind of growl, like kind of like that, and they'll charge you, but if you attack them before they hit you, that still gives you the opportunity to go first, but if they attack you first, then they go first. So you have the ability to analyze these shadows, because each shadow is weak against something, be it like an elemental attack or a physical attack. You are basically fighting with Yukari and Junpei. Mitsuru is kind of like in your ear, kind of like overseeing the whole thing, and she's the one who analyzes the shadows. So what I do, like right off the bat, is I'm just like, hey Mitsuru, can you analyze all of these shadows? We're gonna hold them off as best we can, but can you do this? And each person in your team has like an element that they are stronger with, and also like an attack with their weapon that they're stronger with. The elements in this game are as follows: Bufu, which is ice; Agi, which is fire; Dia, which is healing; Zio, which is electricity; Megiddo, which is like almighty. It's like a non-elemental thing; Hama, which is light; Mudo, which is dark; and Garu, which is wind. There are also some characters that specialize in hand-to-hand combat, like strike, pierce, slash, etc. Mitsuru can analyze these shadows, and you can kind of, you know, fight them off or whatever, and then she'll go, hey, this shadow is weak to wind. I would advise using wind attacks. Also, it is strong against this, or it'll absorb and gain health from this. Don't use this against them, which is beneficial to know, because I have done the thing many a time when I have stupidly used an ice attack against an ice thing, and it just made it even stronger, and I'm like, This is why I can't have nice things. Yukari has like Dia, which is like the healing skill, and she also has like a bow and arrow, which is pierce. Junpei sort of specializes more in like the the slash with a sword, and he also has a persona that can use fire. You have like a katana, of course. You can like switch out your personas, which is handy. So once you figure out the Shadow's weakness, you can sort of give commands to your team to, you know, move forward. And there is an option to have the team just sort of do what they want, like the computer AI kind of battle, which I don't really like because like I said, I'm a planner, and I strategize my fights really well, so I just put everything on manual. Once you figure out the Shadow's weakness and attack them with it, it knocks them down, and it also gives you another turn. So you can attack all of these Shadows with what they're weak, with the thing that they're weak against, and once all of them are knocked down, you have the chance to do something called an all-out attack, which is very fun because it allows all of your team members to sort of just bum rush in and just wail on these Shadows, and it causes a massive amount of damage, and that's usually when the fight ends, especially if they're like lower level enemies and stuff like that. That part I really like. I really like figuring out I like figuring out the best way to get a battle over with as soon as possible. Just I want to like get that EXP, get that money. So at the end of the fights, there is a thing called shuffle time. And this involves the minor arcana of the tarot. There are swords, wands, cups, and coins. There are no pentacles. So what this involves is you see the minor arcana cards in front of you. The sword card gives you like a low-level weapon. The wands increase either your EXP or your persona's EXP. The cups heal you, and the coins give you money. So you kind of pick the one that you want, the cards turn face down and they shuffle, and then you kind of, you know, pick the one that you wanted, and you can sometimes draw like a low-level persona card, and this is really handy, especially when you are first starting out and you only have like your one persona, but this is when you start to kind of like accumulate like all of them and bring them down to Igor in the Velvet Room for Fusion. And this is my lovely segue into the wonderful, complicated, ridiculous world of Persona Fusion. This is really hard for me to explain. I have thought of many different ways to explain it. The only way I can think of explaining Persona Fusion is sort of like getting DNA from your parents. You know, when two personas love each other very much. For example, you have one persona here, you fuse them together, and you make this new one. That new persona always has like its base level skills that it just sort of comes with. Like some personas always have Dia. There are some personas that will always have Bufu. There are some personas that will always have like status, ailment, spells, or like, you know, it'll give you like your teammates a buff, it'll give your enemies a debuff, that kind of stuff. There are also some personas that have like passive abilities that are always there. The new persona that is a result of this has like little random things from like their parents. It's like, oh, I have a persona that can do ice, but I also have a persona that, you know, that was fused with it, and now the persona can not only do ice, but it can be like a healer, or it can do like buffs, or it can do debuffs. I haven't figured out how it actually works, because you can only fuse like certain arcanas with other arcanas. Like you can't fuse everything willy-nilly. Like you have to be like, oh, this one will correspond with this and it'll give me this. Like if you fuse together like the Fool and the Lovers, you'll get the Emperor or something like that. I still haven't really figured that out yet. Or how like the skills are like determined, but there are different like levels of fusion. Like you can do different spreads. There's like a 2-card spread, which is like the basic one. There's like a triangle spread. I think there's like a 4-card spread, and then there's like a pentacle spread. And like I feel like the more things you put into it, like the more powerful it can get. But then there are times like when I do like a pentacle spread, and it has like this little chart on the side where it's like, if you fuse all of these together, you'll get this. And then there are some times when I'm like trying to fuse together everything to get like the ultimate like big god persona, and it's like Pixie. And Pixie is like one of the most common. Pixie is like Pidgey in Pokemon. Like Pixies are everywhere. And it's like, oh, this is like the most like bomb-ass Pixie ever, but still like I want I want like Satan, which you can fuse Satan, it's awesome. One of the cool things about the assistant, Elizabeth or Theodore, they can give you quests to fuse personas that are just completely random. Like, one of the quests that you can get is a Jack Frost, which is obviously an ice character, but you have to fuse him with another persona to get the skill Agi, which is fire. And that shit took me at least an hour, because I was trying to figure out, I was like on my laptop, like scrolling through all of these like things and just like trying to figure out how to do it. And it's hard, but like you fuse them together and then you get a key item and you can fuse other things, and this adds to like your compendium. Going back to the compendium, it's sort of like a Pokedex where you can like refer to all of the personas that you have fused, and you can also take them out for like a small fee, because you can only carry like a certain number of personas with you. And sometimes you are going to a fight and you're like, I really need this one, I am gonna swap out this one for this one. And I didn't know that you could take them out for a fee at first, and I was like I was like clinging to Orpheus. I'm like, you can't take him from me, he's been with me since the beginning, I'm not gonna fuse him for anything. And it's like, you can get him back later, and it's just like, oh. At the end of my 200-hour whatever of this game, my compendium was to 97%. And the only reason I didn't complete it was because I didn't max out a few social links and I missed a few quests to get key items to fuse other personas. But 97% is a lot. Oh my god. So throughout the game, you discover that more people are persona wielders, and they come and live with you in your dorm. And subsequently, they can also come and fight with you. And each person, or you and each person in your team, has like a status of like how they're feeling that day. It's either like excellent, good, fair, or sick. And if they're feeling excellent, they are more likely to get critical hits, they're more likely to get like knockdowns, they're more likely to just like do like really well. And when you and like your whole team go to Tartarus, they're like sort of standing around, you go and you like check in with them, and like the more people you get, you like pick certain ones to like be on your team. And if they're like in excellent health, they're like, yeah, let's go fight, let's go kick ass, let's go do this, yeah. You're like, all right, come in with me, let's do this. And each person in your dorm and like each person on your team has a social link. Yeah, it's all connected. Fusion, social links, battle, it's all connected. So there are some levels, and each of your teammates like level up too. Miraculously, I was able to get all of my teammates to be like at the same level as me, because I rotated them. I literally had a chart written out of like who I used last and who I needed to use again and who needed more like leveling up. I had like notes of like what personas I needed to fuse together, like notebooks, like pages filled with this stuff, because I obsess over this. The main, like the full moon boss fights are pretty tricky, and it involves like, you know, there's like a cinematic that goes along with it, and one of the first fights involves you and like a few of your teammates like running up this train that's gonna like crash into something, and you have to fight the big boss at the end of like a train car. There's one where you actually go to like a love hotel, and you have like this moment where you're like, oh, I should like give in to my desires and like sleep with everybody, and fanfiction. It's crazy. Like the amount of thought like put into like this battle system is just astounding to me. And I think my only real critique of this game is I like structure, but sometimes this game can be a bit too structured. Like they're like, no, you need to like study for your exams or senpai won't notice you or something like that. And I'm just like, yeah, I know I need to study, but I kind of need to go and like work on this other social link here. Like, can I do it? And there is a walkthrough that I've noticed to max out all the social links in one playthrough, and I'm just like, no. Can't do it. Like I said, I like structure, but at the same time, I kind of need to have a little bit of wiggle room. But, you know, that being said, the thing that, like, makes this game my favorite game is the freaking character development. Like, the character development in this game is phenomenal. You know, you establish your social links, and it's just not, you know, just like this whole thing of a girl being like, I am shy, how do I not be shy? It's a girl being like, I am being blackmailed. what do I do? Like, how do I stand up for myself? Or like a little girl going like, my parents are fighting. I think they're gonna get a divorce. I don't think they love me anymore, and I'm gonna run away from home. Or it's like an old couple being like, we lost our son in a car crash. That one, oof, that one hit me really hard. There's so many just good elements to this game, like storytelling wise, and like I get attached to things very easily. I'm like, oh my god, I relate to you so much. I want to help you. Like, I want you to be happy. And I also, there are some people where I'm like, I want you to be happy, and I also want to date you and spend a long time with you. And yeah, I like the battle system. I like the elemental aspect of it. I like the fusion. I like the quests. I love so many things about this game. It is so good. And I cannot recommend you play it enough, because even though I just droned on for like a million years about all these like random things, they are, and it may sound boring, it may not be your cup of tea, that's fine, just more for me, but it's so good, and it's really worth at least like one playthrough, or at least just giving it a try, because yeah, I cannot say enough good things about this game, and I'm really, really happy that I made this video, and I am sorry that it is running on so long. I knew it would run on. It's wonderful, and I'm very happy that they incorporated a female character into the PSP version, because it doesn't like alter the story, like the main story arc too much. It just sort of like changes the social links ever so slightly. Yeah, thank you very much for watching my long, rambly, Persona's so great, oh my god, video. I appreciate all of you who watch it very, very much, and I will see all of you in the next video. Bye!